You already know the answer, but you refuse to accept it, don't you, my friend, as we sit here in this quiet room, surrounded by the faint scent of old books and the soft hum of a distant city. But therefore, it's time to confront the truth. The universe is indifferent to your existence, and that's a liberating truth, one that can set you free from the burdens of self-importance. As we ponder this notion, I want you to consider the human brain, wired as it is to seek meaning and purpose, to find a sense of significance in this vast, seemingly chaotic universe. But therefore, this drive for significance leads us to overestimate our importance, to believe that our actions, our decisions, and our very existence have a profound impact on the world around us. However, the universe operates on its own laws, regardless of human existence, governed by the cold, unforgiving logic of physics and mathematics. But therefore, our actions, in the grand scheme, are but a whisper in the cosmic wind, a faint, almost imperceptible murmur that is quickly lost in the vast expanse of space and time. As we sit here, surrounded by the trappings of human civilization, it's easy to forget this fundamental truth, to believe that our lives, our struggles, and our triumphs are the center of the universe. But therefore, the universe is indifferent to our existence, and this realization can be both terrifying and liberating, a reminder that our significance is not inherent, but rather a product of our own perceptions and beliefs. In this sense, the illusion of significance is a double-edged sword, on the one hand driving us to achieve great things, to push the boundaries of human knowledge and creativity, but on the other hand, blinding us to the reality of our place in the universe. But therefore, it's only by acknowledging and accepting this paradox, this tension between our desire for significance and the universe's indifference, that we can begin to find a sense of true freedom and purpose. As we delve deeper into this paradox, we'll explore the ways in which our brains create this illusion of significance, and how it shapes our perceptions of the world and our place in it. But therefore, for now, let's simply sit with this idea, this uncomfortable truth that challenges our deepest assumptions about ourselves and our place in the universe, and see where it takes us, into the depths of the human condition, and the mysteries of the cosmos. But as we sit in the quiet room, surrounded by the silence and the darkness of the universe, a paradox begins to emerge. Therefore, we are compelled to confront the tension between our desire for significance and the seemingly meaningless vastness of the cosmos. This paradox, which we'll call the insignificance paradox, arises from our inherent need to matter, to leave a mark, to be remembered, in a universe that is ultimately indifferent to our existence. But as we grapple with this paradox, we are forced to confront the existential questions that have plagued humanity for centuries. Therefore, we must ask ourselves, what is the purpose of our lives? What is the meaning of our existence? These questions, which have been debated by philosophers and theologians, from the ancient Greeks to modern existentialists, give rise to existential crises, as we struggle to come to terms with our own mortality and the impermanence of all things. But as we search for meaning in a seemingly meaningless universe, we are driven by a fundamental drive, a drive that shapes our lives, our cultures, and our societies. Therefore, we create art, music, literature, and science, in an attempt to impose meaning on a chaotic world, to leave our mark, to be remembered. Yet, the more we seek significance, the more we realize our own insignificance, the more we are forced to confront the reality of our own mortality, and the impermanence of all things. But let us consider a thought experiment, proposed by the philosopher, Derek Parfit, in which we imagine a universe where human beings are immortal, and where our actions have no consequences. Where we are free to do as we please, without fear of punishment or reward. Therefore, we must ask ourselves, would we still seek significance, would we still strive to leave our mark, to be remembered, in a universe where our existence is without end, and our actions are without consequence? But as we ponder the significance of our actions in an endless universe, we must also consider the cosmic perspective. Therefore, we are compelled to examine the vast scales of space and time, and how they put our existence into perspective. The universe, as we know it, is governed by laws, not intentions or purposes. This realization can be both humbling and liberating, as it frees us from the burden of trying to fulfill a predetermined destiny. But what does it mean to exist in a universe without an inherent purpose? Therefore, we must consider the words of the ancient Greek philosopher, Aristotle, who said that the universe has no beginning or end, and that it is eternal and unchanging. This perspective can help us understand that our existence is but a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of time. We can imagine ourselves as temporary, flickering moments of consciousness. But even as we acknowledge the impermanence of our existence, we are still driven to create, to leave our mark on the universe. Therefore, we must ask ourselves, what is the significance of our creations, our art, our music, and our literature? Is it simply a form of self-expression, a way to impose our will on the universe? Or is it something more, a way to connect with others, to transcend our fleeting existence? But as we ponder the significance of our creations, we must also consider the vast and uncaring universe. Therefore, we are forced to confront the reality that our existence, and all that we create, is but a small and insignificant part of the grand cosmic landscape. This realization can be a difficult pill to swallow, but it can also be liberating, as it frees us from the burden of trying to create something that will last forever. We are free to create, to express ourselves, without the weight of expectation or the need for recognition. But as we let go of the desire for permanence and recognition, we are left with a profound question: what does it mean to be human in an impermanent and often indifferent universe? Therefore, we must look to our own existence, to the complexities and contradictions that make us who we are. Despite our insignificance, human beings have an incredible capacity for creativity and love, as evidenced by the countless works of art, literature, and music that have been created throughout history. But this capacity for creativity and love is not unique to our species, as many animals are also capable of complex social behaviors and emotional connections. Therefore, what sets us apart is not our ability to create or love, but our ability to reflect on our own existence, to question the meaning and purpose of our lives. Our existence may be brief, but it is rich in experience and connection, as we are capable of forming deep and lasting bonds with others, and of experiencing the world around us in all its beauty and complexity. But this richness of experience is not without its challenges, as the human condition is marked by both beauty and suffering, joy and despair. Therefore, we must confront the reality of our own mortality, and the impermanence of all things, in order to truly appreciate the preciousness and fragility of life. It is in this complexity that we find the essence of our existence, as we are capable of experiencing the full range of human emotions, from the depths of sorrow to the heights of joy. But how can we make sense of this complexity, and find meaning in a seemingly meaningless world? Therefore, let us consider the thought experiment of the ancient Greek philosopher, Epicurus, who argued that the key to happiness is not the pursuit of wealth or fame, but the cultivation of friendships and the living of a simple life. Similarly, the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche argued that we must affirm life, in all its complexity and uncertainty, in order to truly live. By embracing the beauty and the suffering, the joy and the despair, we can find a sense of purpose and meaning that is unique to our own existence. But as we stand at the precipice of existence, gazing out at the vast expanse of life, we are met with a profound realization. Therefore, we must confront the fact that our individual significance is but a drop in the ocean of time. Embracing our insignificance can be a liberating experience, one that frees us from the burden of having to be significant, of having to matter. It allows us to shift our focus away from the pressure to make a lasting impact, and instead, to immerse ourselves in the present moment. We can focus on the beauty and wonder of existence, without the weight of responsibility to leave a lasting legacy. This liberation is reminiscent of the ancient Greek concept of ataraxia, or freedom from mental disturbances, where one can achieve a state of inner peace and tranquility. In this liberation, we find a strange and profound sense of freedom, one that allows us to pursue our passions and interests without the need for external validation. But this freedom is not without its challenges, for it requires us to confront the abyss of uncertainty that lies at the heart of existence. Therefore, we must ask ourselves, what does it mean to live a life that is truly free, unencumbered by the need for significance or recognition? We can draw inspiration from the thought experiment of Jean-Paul Sartre, who argued that human beings are condemned to be free, and that this freedom brings with it a sense of responsibility and existential anxiety. As we navigate the complexities of existence, we come to realize that our insignificance is not a weakness, but a strength, for it allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, and to find meaning in the present moment. But this connection is not without its challenges, for it requires us to be vulnerable, to open ourselves up to the possibility of pain and heartache. In the end, it is this liberation of insignificance that allows us to live a life that is authentic, meaningful, and truly free. Therefore, we must embrace our insignificance, and find freedom in the beauty and wonder of existence. But as we walk away from the constraints of our ego, we begin to realize that our perspective on the world shapes our experience of reality. Therefore, it is crucial that we examine our perspective, and consider how it influences our understanding of the world. By embracing our insignificance, we can shift our perspective and find new meaning in the world around us. This perspective allows us to see the world with fresh eyes, to appreciate the beauty and wonder that surrounds us. We can learn from the example of the ancient Greek philosopher, Epicurus, who believed that the key to happiness was to live modestly and cultivate a sense of inner strength. By adopting a similar perspective, we can find joy in the simple things, and appreciate the intricate web of relationships that binds us to the world. But this perspective is not just a matter of individual choice, it is also shaped by our cultural and historical context. Therefore, it is essential that we consider the broader social and cultural forces that influence our perspective. By embracing our insignificance, we can begin to see the world from a more nuanced and multifaceted perspective. This perspective is both humbling and empowering, as it allows us to recognize our place in the world, while also acknowledging our capacity for growth and transformation. It is a perspective that encourages us to be curious, to explore, and to learn from the world around us. But it also reminds us that our understanding is always incomplete, and that there is always more to discover. Therefore, as we continue on our journey, we must remain open to new experiences, and be willing to challenge our assumptions. By embracing our insignificance, we can find the freedom to explore, to create, and to live a life that is authentic and meaningful. But this freedom is not a fixed state, it is a dynamic process that requires us to continually examine our perspective, and to be willing to adapt and change. As we stand at the river of change, we are reminded that the future is uncertain, but one thing is clear, our insignificance is a constant. But this realization, rather than being a source of despair, can be a catalyst for growth and transformation. Therefore, by embracing our insignificance, we can create a better world, a world that is more compassionate, more empathetic. In this world, we recognize that our individual significance is not the measure of our worth, but rather our ability to connect with others, to understand their struggles and their triumphs. But as we strive to create this world, we are met with the daunting reality of our own limitations, our own mortality. Therefore, we must confront the fact that our time on this earth is short, and that our actions, no matter how significant they may seem, are but a drop in the ocean of human history. But what if, instead of trying to leave a lasting legacy, we focused on cultivating a sense of wonder, a sense of awe at the beauty and complexity of the world around us? As the ancient Greek philosopher, Aristotle, once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Therefore, by embracing our insignificance, we can cultivate a sense of humility, a sense of recognition that we are part of a larger whole, connected to all things. In this sense, our insignificance becomes a source of freedom, a freedom to explore, to create, and to live a life that is authentic and meaningful. But this freedom is not without its challenges, for it requires us to confront the uncertainty of the future, to face the unknown with courage and resilience. Therefore, as we look to the future, we must recognize that it is both daunting and full of hope, a future that is uncertain, but also full of possibility. As the philosopher, Alan Watts, once said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." But as we join this dance, we must also recognize the impermanence of all things, the fact that everything is constantly changing, including ourselves. Therefore, by embracing this impermanence, we can create a world that is more compassionate, more empathetic, a world that recognizes the beauty and wonder of existence, despite our own insignificance. The final reflection as we stand at the precipice of existence, gazing out into the vast expanse of the universe, we are met with a profound realization: our lives are but a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of time. The things that bring us joy, the things that bring us pain, the things that make us feel alive, all of these are transient, ephemeral, and ultimately, insignificant. And yet, it is in this very insignificance that we find the key to unlocking the true meaning of our existence. For when we let go of our need to be special, to be unique, to be the center of the universe, we are free to explore the depths of our own humanity. We are free to discover the beauty of the world around us, to appreciate the intricate web of relationships that binds us all together, and to find our place within the larger cosmos. In the end, it is not our significance that gives our lives meaning, but our insignificance. It is the recognition of our place in the universe, as but one small part of a much greater whole, that allows us to find true purpose. A purpose that is not based on our ego or our desires, but on our connection to the world around us, to the people, the places, and the things that make life worth living. As we navigate the complexities of existence, we come to realize that our lives are not defined by our achievements, our possessions, or our status. Rather, they are defined by our relationships, our experiences, and our contributions to the world around us. And it is this connection that gives our lives true significance, a significance that is not based on our individual accomplishments, but on our collective humanity. In the grand scheme of things, we are but a small, insignificant part of a much larger whole. And yet, it is in this very insignificance that we find our true significance. For when we let go of our need to be special, we are free to discover the beauty, the wonder, and the magic of existence. You are not special, but that's what makes you special.